everybody. I'm going to redo that. Hi everybody, it is Trixie Tudor here, and I thought, I don't even know, I'm going to do an update sort of thing, partially due to the fact that I started a new job today, so I haven't really fully figured out how the fuck I'm gonna go through and get my 6 videos done that I said that I was going to do. But there's already I've already basically got everything done. I have to go through and get 2 more, or I don't even have to do that. I have everything done for Saturday, which is today as you are seeing this. But Monday, Wednesday, and next Saturday, I have no fucking clue how I'm gonna do that. Like, I might go through and get Monday's videos recorded tomorrow when I get off work, or after I get home from work, and then get Monday's blog post written tomorrow once I get off work, and then Wednesdays will probably get done on Tuesday, since I do believe I have that day off, and then Saturdays will all get done on Fridays. But aside from that, I thought we would do a little another history lesson. And I do believe we were actually going to go back to Henry VIII, or that era anyway. But I think we're going to go through and we're going to go semi into the Wars of the Roses, but not really, because I really don't know all that much about the Lancasters and the Plantagenets. I really don't, even though I'm really into the Wars of the Roses. I don't know that much. But, kiss my ass. Sorry. But, we'll go into Henry VII's reign, even though it wasn't all that productive. But we can go through and get a little, I could give you guys a little backstory and give you the need to know stuff about Henry VII. He married Elizabeth of York, which was Edward the Fifth's daughter, and then they had kids, of course, and basically the first was Arthur. I think it went to either Margaret or Mary, I'm gonna look it up, because I'm getting it all sorts of wrong, and I just know for a fact that something is not right. Waking out of the town goes to bury out. Everybody's just smiling, fitting. Little rats smoking babies, 7 babies. It's a vicious little world when we live in. Looking back at a life on the other side, I realized that I didn't fit in, didn't hate it, but I didn't quite relate it to my precious little world. Alrighty, so all the children were Arthur, Margaret, Henry VIII, Elizabeth, who I believe died when she was 3. I was correct in that. Mary, Edmund, who died when he was a year old, and then Catherine, who died 8 days after she was born. Now, Arthur, the oldest, ended up marrying Catherine of Aragon, and basically what happened there was it was like a few days, maybe even a few, I don't remember if it was a few days or a few months or even a year after they had gotten married, but he had gotten really, really sick, and he passed away. Now, what happened after that was Elizabeth of York went through and told Henry VII that or went through and said, okay, well, we're both still young. We can, you know, go through and try and have another kid. He's like, okay, fine, whatever. And they went through and did that. And then she got pregnant. And then what happened after, you know, she went into confinement. And come to find out, she gave birth to a girl. But she went through and she ended up contracting childbed fever, which ended up making her, or which ended up killing her. And then 8 days after Catherine Tudor was born, she passed. Or Catherine Tudor was born, then Catherine passed away in infancy. So after all that happened, Henry VIII, he was just Henry at the point, but Henry was basically turning into the heir, even though he was the spare. So his father had to go through and put tons of knowledge into his head, which is why I believe that Henry VIII was not prepared enough to be king, since he was the spare and he was being trained to join church, join anything, or join the church or join something, just as the second sons usually did back in that time period. Now, Henry VII ended up passing away a few years after that. It was a long time after that, from what I remember. But, I'm doing it just to make sure. I hate doing this, but I like to give facts as I am reading them. But, Henry VII ended up passing away in 1509, which left, Henry VIII as King of England. Now, Margaret Tudor ended up marrying James V of Scotland, which ended up producing James IV of Scotland, my bad, which ended up producing James V of Scotland, who is the father of Mary, Queen of Scots. And she ended up marrying 2 other people after that. To me, they aren't important. What is important is the political marriages. Everyone knows about who Henry VIII married. If you don't, I will go through it. I will give you a quick brief. He ended up marrying Catherine of Aragon. They got divorced. Their marriage was, or they got married in 1509. Their marriage was annulled in 1533. He then married Anne Boleyn in 1533, and she was executed in 1536. Jane Seymour and Henry married in 1536, and she died in 1537, giving birth to, or like a week after she had given birth to Henry's son Edward. Anne of Cleves married Henry in 1540, and their marriage was annulled in 1540. Catherine Howard married Henry in 1540, and she was beheaded in 1542. And then in 1543, Henry married Catherine Parr, and he died in 1547. Now on to Mary Tudor. Now she is one of my favorites of Henry VII's children, partially due to the fact that not only did she marry Louis the XII of France, but she also married Charles Brandon. Her marriage to Charles Brandon ended up producing Francis Brandon, Francis Brandon, aka Francis Grey. Francis Grey is the mother of, or was the mother of, Lady Jane Grey, the queen for 9 days, even though she wasn't technically coronated. She didn't have a coronation, so she ended up, she wasn't coronated. She didn't have her coronation, so she wasn't technically queen, but she was named queen, if that makes any sense. But the reason why Mary Tudor is so important to me is because she's the grandmother of the 9 Days Queen. I mean, come on. Because of her marriage to Charles Brandon, it produced Frances Grey, who ended up giving birth to Jane Grey. Now, I know that the names and everything can be confusing, but I mean, what happened to Jane Grey was just ridiculous to begin with, which sucks, but what could you do? Because her father and her father-in-law were all like, oh, hey, you know, nobody wants Mary Tudor, not her grandmother, but Mary the First. Mary the First is queen. So, you know what? Since she's Catholic and everything's going to go horribly wrong if she is has her coronation and becomes queen, why don't you become queen? And then we can make sure everything is okay. And she didn't want to become queen at all, but that is what happened because of what Henry's son Edward was like, okay, I can't let my sister become queen, and I can't let Elizabeth become queen either. That is a different story for another history with Trixie. I will actually get to that one in the next one. But, you know, all of Henry VII's children kind of had an important part in history, in my opinion. Because if you look at it, you know, Margaret ended up marrying James the IV of Scotland, and ended up, you know, producing Mary Queen of Scots' father, who ended up dying either the day of or the day after she was born. Then when you look at Henry VIII, I mean, of course, everybody knows what Henry VIII did. He's an infamous monarch. And then when you go through and you look at Mary Tudor, Queen of France, you know, she gave birth to the mother of Lady Jane Grey. And, of course, 9 times out of 10, we overlook all of Henry VII's children except for Henry VIII. Because, I mean, come on, Henry did so much shit. And yet, you know, he's the most important because he's an infamous king. Henry VIII is infamous for all the things that he did and all of his wives, and just, he's infamous. But his other kids are so important because without them, we wouldn't have important characters of history. Because without Mary Queen of France, we wouldn't have had Jane Grey. Without Margaret Queen of Scots, we wouldn't have Mary Queen of Scots. And I know how that can get really confusing because back then it was either Henry or James. Henry, James, Charles. Those were the most popular male names back then, and it's so confusing even to me. And then with females, you had Catherine, Mary, Margaret, Elizabeth. It was insane with the names, and I know that can get confusing, so if I confuse you saying this, I am sorry. I am confusing myself, in all honesty. But that's basically just what I wanted to get into, was, you know, we can't go through and ignore all the rest of Henry VII's children because they played important parts. Like, with Arthur dying, since he died, we got Henry VIII. But what if he hadn't have died? You know, then we wouldn't have had all the shit that Henry VIII had done, but then we wouldn't have had Mary I or Elizabeth I. And Elizabeth I is another infamous monarch. So, it's a mixed feeling because I know, you know, it's a constant question, you know, what if Arthur hadn't have died? What if you know, he had become king, would he have been a just ruler? Would he have been just like Henry VIII? Would he have been like his father? What would have happened? And I'm trying to be optimistic, but at the same time, you know, I honestly really think that he would have, you know, been a really good ruler. I think he would have been better than Henry VIII, in all honesty, because Henry was just fucking crazy, but Arthur would have made a good king. And it sucks that he had died so young, but at the same time, I guess you could see it as in our benefit, because if he hadn't have died, then we wouldn't have gotten Henry VIII, and then we wouldn't have gotten Elizabeth I, and then the United States would not be the same without Elizabeth I. I mean, shit, we have a state named after her. Virginia is named after her because Elizabeth was known as the Virgin Queen. The United States just wouldn't be the same without Elizabeth. And that's what would have sucked if Arthur had become king. Because we wouldn't have gotten Elizabeth I, because more than likely Henry VIII would have joined the church like he had planned on doing. He wouldn't have gotten married to Anne Boleyn, which in return would have not produced Elizabeth I. And then he wouldn't have gotten married to Jane Seymour, which wouldn't have produced his son Edward. And he wouldn't have gotten married to Catherine of Aragon, which wouldn't have produced Mary I. Now, I think I'm going to end this here because I'm confusing myself. But, you know, just remind yourself to always look at both sides of the spectrum. Because, I mean, it always varies. Because I know that I know that a lot of people tend to think that just because something changed in history that it wouldn't have affected us, when really if something hadn't have changed, then it would have affected the future massively. But I will see all you guys in the next video. You are amazing, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're talented. Don't let anybody tell you any different. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And I'm so sorry that Monday is coming up so fast. I wish it didn't. Have a good weekend. Have a good rest of Monday and the rest of the week. I will see you all on Monday. I'm going to stop rambling. Bye!